Okay, so this is a tutorial on how you can customize the start page, and in general how to use the page editor and all the customizations that you can do. So to give a quick overview of how you can customize pages, it helps to know how the modern website pages look like. So in general, because of phones and tablets, the modern website pages, they all now represented in rows. It used to be that websites on desktop used to have a lot of different columns, but nowadays, and you can still do it here, but nowadays the most basic style of pages is represented in rows, and the reason for the rows is because you can shrink the page and it becomes responsive. So let me give you an example. So if you come here and you can for example have a responsive page, so as you shrink the page for different device widths and so forth, it adapts to the device width. So that's the main reason for the current page design, where you have rows of content. And the way you can customize those rows is actually pretty simple. If you look at the design aspect of a page, you can here's the page editor. So this schema of elements represents the way the page looks and the content on the page. So if you look at this schema, it would represent this particular design. Now let me show you quickly how it translates. So for example, if you look at the elements right here, you can see there's a row for the header, then another row for the hero with some you know, background image and background video, and you have other rows that follow. So if you look at the design of the page, same thing, you have a row for the header, even though it's transparent and the video shines through it, where you have the logo and the menu right here. Then you have the row with the video background with the navigator inside of it, and then you have another row with some content and, you know, how it works row, and so forth and so forth, and some tiles rows, and, you know, another row and some more tile rows and so forth. So the way it works, if you look at it, so I'm just going to modify something so you can see how it works. So I can go into this row right here, and I can click on the navigator element, which is this element right here, and let's say I want to customize this text, and I'm going to put something in here. So I'm just going to put another word here. Style starts with test. Click update. Go on the bottom, click save. Come back here, refresh, and then you see now this thing is changed. Now, so let me go over the elements. So any web pages, they usually start with an HTML element, and the HTML element, I'm going to talk to you about what is find and what's all those little things right here. But usually the HTML element, every web page starts with an HTML element, and the menu and the footer are located in the master page, because those elements are usually the same no matter which page you're visiting on. So the menu is going to be the same no matter which page you visit, although there is an option to change the menu and change the footer, or delete stuff or add stuff depending on which page you're on. But in general, the menu and the footer are gonna stay the same. So so what we do here is we start with an HTML element, and then we start with a title element, and right here you just add a piece of text to the title. So we just go and find the HTML element, find the title element, and add a title text element. So right here, again, I'm going to end another test right here at the end. Click update, click save, and if you look at the title, there's a test right here at the end. So the title element is the title that's going to appear in Google indexing, and also going to appear in the title of the tab right here. I'm going to talk about the menu, all the different tags you can set in the HTML element on a separate in a separate video about master pages. So the next thing you can see, so the first thing you can see is you can modify the title. The next thing you can modify right here is the social properties. So here, this is what's going to get displayed when you share this page on Facebook. So this is going to be the title, this is going to be the description, and you can upload a picture that's going to be shown when you share this page on Facebook. The next thing is we're going to go to the body. So the body is actually what is getting displayed on the page, because the other elements, they're not actually getting displayed on the page. They're more like meta elements that change something else, but the body actually represents the whole page, what is getting displayed on the page. So the first row is the header, and you can see right here I'm basically finding the header from the master page, which I'll talk about later, and I'm adding a logo which is white. That's why you cannot really see it, but it's basically this logo right here, and the reason I'm doing that is because I want to change the logo from a different logo that was on the master page that was made for white backgrounds, and this logo is made for dark background. So this is, I have a dark background over here, I want a white logo. That's what I'm doing, and I'm also making that row transparent. So for example, right now, if I'm going to go and put regular row, you'll see what's going to happen. Nothing, because the position is absolute. So you can also modify that. You can put position relative, and I'm going to go over this real quick, and then you'll have the background over here. So now if you want to go and you can modify the background color from transparent to white, you'll see what's going to happen. You'll have a white background. Now you see you would need a different logo. So if I'll come here and I'll modify and I'll delete that logo, it will take the logo from the master page, which is going to be a logo that would look good on the white background. So I can modify it back. I'll put that into position absolute, and I'll put the header transparent, and here you have little help icons. So transparent assumes dark background, usually good for the start page. So I'll put that, and then we'll have it back on. We'll have it back on the white. I'll remove the white background here, so I'll make it transparent again. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I just actually removed the background, so I'll just make it white, and I'll make it transparent. There it is. Okay, so here it is. So let me go over the different things you can find in the row. So first, the system is based on Bootstrap, which is the most common responsive framework on the internet. It's the most popular, and the good thing about Bootstrap is that it makes sure that you can have your website look good on any device. So it's a responsive framework. So rows are 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 basically containers. It's the, you know, the most basic element that underneath you'll put all your stuff in. So rows will be containers for all your content. So a row can be either boxed or fluid, and by boxed meaning that, for example, right here, that it will be you will have a certain width to it, versus a fluid, it just takes the whole width of the screen. So a boxed row is great if you want your content to be centered and more and more aligned in the middle, instead of just spread out, you know, across the page, something like that. And that would, you know, you would use, for example, this is a fluid row because it's spread out across the whole page. And if I'll make this into a boxed, I'll show you. For example, if I'll go and I'll make this row into boxed, it will put it more in the center. You see right here. So the boxed is usually 1,000. It's usually, I'll show you how many pixels it is. It is usually 1,000. Usually about close to 1,000. 1,000 pixels. A little bit more. So it's 1,200 pixels, or actually max width it's 1,170 pixels, versus a fluid will just have taken the whole row. So that's just for you to choose between different styles. You can have, you know, take the row can take the whole screen, or just you know, 1,070, or it actually shrinks depending on device. It will actually get smaller and smaller depending on the device. So that's the difference here. Now the next thing you can have on the row is you can apply different classes to it, and you can apply height. So you can put height, so for example, specify, you know, I want the height, you know, 500 pixels or 300 pixels and so forth. You can also specify mobile height, the height that you will be on mobile. So for example, mobile devices, you might want to get it a little smaller or a little larger. You can also have background video, and usually you want your background video to be at least 720p, but 1080p is better, and you want to use 24p, and you want to use two-step compression at 2000 kilobits per second variable rate. So if you have a Premiere Pro or some iMovie or anything like that that you can use to make your videos, that will be really helpful. Okay, so the next thing is a background image. Again, you can have you can upload different background images. So let me show you how that works. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is how you can customize the background image. So for example, here I have a background image. I can save that image, save this image as to my pictures, so later on I can put it back. So right now I'm changing this this row right here, so I want to change the background image. So it's quite easy. You just come here, go to background image, upload picture. By the way, this is also a row, so you can see here, you know, it's a little bit smaller height on mobile, a little bit larger on desktop. So I'll come here, I'll go here, I'll do random pictures, tutor. I just have this picture, and I'm going to put that, and then refresh, and it will crop the picture if needed, and there you go. Now you have a background image. Now let me see what some other things you can do with the background image. So one thing you can do is you can apply a background color as an overlay. So this background type right now is cover, but I can also put it on repeat. So cover meaning it will stretch the image no matter how big it is or how small it is to make sure it fits the whole width, versus repeat is it's good for patterns and things like that. So usually you wanna make sure that the background image is cover. The next thing, let's say I'm gonna make it a little bit darker. So this text right here, it's hard to see the S right here, right on the background image. So I'll just come and say black, background color, and I'm gonna put background opacity at 30%. So that means that the black is gonna only be 30% opacity, which is opacity is from 0 to 1. So 0.3, that's the value you have for opacity, and this values actually come from HTML. So you can save it, refresh, and now you can see that then the picture is a little bit darker, and you can actually see the S, the white S, versus before you couldn't really see it. Another cool thing you can do, you don't have to actually choose black. You can choose something that will maybe mesh better with the picture, maybe like a dark blue, and you can click save, and actually what it's going to do is going to tint the picture blue. So you see right here, now it's actually tinted blue, so it gives a nice cool effect if you want to use that. So that's that was basically background. You can also have background color override. So for example, you can choose the color of the background. In some places, for example, if you have a default page, you don't want to statically define what the background is for that particular row. You can just take it from the master page and background color. You can also do overlays. So just give me an example. So for example, on this website right here, you can see this thing is overlay, and it's basically a repeating overlay to make the background look a little nicer. You can make sure that, for example, you don't want to see this row on phone or mobile. If it has a lot of heavy stuff, maybe video or maybe something else, you don't want to show it on phone or mobiles to make sure your website loads faster on those things. So this will check the user agent of the device, and if it recognizes it's a phone or mobile, it will actually not return any content for that particular row. You can also make sure that the row is only shown when the user is logged in, and so forth. And this is position class. It specifies this is more of advanced HTML technique, versus it's relative, absolute, or fixed. The default is relative. Absolute meaning it's going to basically disregard the order, the natural order, and it will override. It'll kind of sit on top of the row below it. And fixed is rarely used, but basically fixed is always going to get fixed, usually to the top of the screen. Now some of the other things right here, you have some classes, and what those are basically every row you want to make sure that there is going to be some sort of padding for your content. You don't want the content to be directly touching the previous row, or you don't want it to be touching the sides of the screen and so forth. You want some padding to make sure that the content has room to breathe, and this is what this does. So padding horizontal, and those values right here are in pixels. So padding horizontal 10 means you're going to pad horizontally 10 pixels. Padding vertical 20 means you're going to pad vertically 20 pixels. So let me give you an example of this. So we'll find, for example, this row, and it has padding horizontal, padding vertical 50. So let's see what happens if I change it to padding vertical 5. So this is going to be the row that was right beneath this, so this row. So let's see if I save it now, see what happens. So you see it shrank the padding right here, and what you want to do, you want to play with the padding to make sure that You want to play with the padding to make sure that it looks right, and that's what the padding is.